Welcome to the Midwest Lions Alliance discussion on campus clubs. As a little background, several districts in the Alliance have campus clubs. Several districts are looking at or struggling with some of the issues also surrounding campus clubs. Here's our discussion with past International Director Jerome Thompson on July 24th, 2021. For further information, feel free to contact me at dw@abadata, that's abadata.com, or my cell phone 989-225-3279. Thanks.
Lion Dave and I were talking about campus clubs and bouncing some ideas off, and we decided that we would just have a group discussion about campus clubs. Some people were talking about how do we rebuild some of the clubs, because some of our campus clubs have been hit pretty hard by COVID. How do we create new clubs and how do we support them? And so as we go through this evening, I'd like to just have a discussion, and y'all just chime in at any time. Stop me, interrupt me. I get excited about what we do as Lions and sometimes forget to take a breath. But working together, we can get this taken care of. If we don't finish our discussion hour, we're going to just put a pin in it, and we'll find another time to pick up where we left off, if that's okay with everyone. Tonight, this is what we'd like to discuss. First of all, rebuilding campus clubs. And then second, we're going to move to chartering a traditional campus club. And Lions Clubs International staff, when they saw the PowerPoint, they wanted to know how I defined a traditional campus club. I think that we define a traditional campus club as one of those clubs that traditionally have been mostly students and met on campus and been approved by the university. And yet there's sometimes that we're not able to get the university's permission to have a student organization or start a student organization on campus. And that's when we're going to talk about this town and gown campus club, where we're going to bring in members of the town, members of the academic community, members of the student bodies, and we're going to form a Lions Club just on the edge of campus so that we don't upset the administration. But we're not going to ask them to be a student organization and recognize. They're just going to be sort of a specialty Lions Club there on the edge of campus. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, and about that concept and some of our experiences where that has worked traditionally. I don't think we're going to finish our discussion tonight, and so I will continue it at your convenience whenever that you want to. And if you say, no, I've heard enough and we don't want to get back together, you're not going to hurt my feelings either. I'm here to serve you and to provide resources and facilitate a communication. Is that fair enough?
That's fine.
And so when we begin to talk about rebuilding a campus club, we're going to have to do it just one bite at a time. The first thing we have to ask ourselves is, why does that club need to be rebuilt? Some of you that are in the position that you need to rebuild a campus club now, tell us why that the club needs to be rebuilt.
Jerome, if you want, I can speak to my club at MSU.
Please.
Okay. It's not that we need to absolutely rebuild from zero, but our club has been doing very well in terms of membership over the last few years. And last year, at the start of the 2019-2020 Lions year, we had a membership of over 70 plus people. Mm-hmm. And we've had up to a maximum of 104. So we were doing pretty darn well. But when COVID started hitting and campuses were closed down in the middle of March of 2019, literally all the students were kicked off of campus. They all were told to go home, get out of there, etc., etc. So as a result, because campus clubs, and this is my experience anyway, they have to select their new officers at the end of their winter semester. and that is typically going on into March, April, and May. And so in our case, they had an election for new officers in progress as they were being told to get off campus. The election went through, but all of the existing officers on the campus went home. All of the new officers never got to campus. And as a result, there was very little communication between the new and the old. And the incoming secretary for last year, she was unfortunately the typical example of what happened. Information didn't get passed along to her, so they didn't know what to do. They were trying to maintain a club online on campus. They're very used to doing Zoom and all that stuff, but they didn't do anything as far as my LCI and LCI record keeping. So for an entire year, we had a stable 74 members, but most of those members went home and never came back to MSU. They got some new ones during the year. They were never added to the membership rolls. So when we finally started getting these kids to respond, and the next group of officers that are coming in for this year, I have started to hound them. I mean, literally, emails to all of them and text messages in some cases, because, of course, some of them don't respond to email. And I've gotten responses. We've had Zoom meetings, and it is a matter of telling them, you've got to do this about your LCI information. Now you've got to start doing recruiting. So they're on board with this, and I'm lucky that they all seem to be willing to say, okay, we were members before, we weren't officers, now we want to do a good job when we are officers. So it's just a matter of the student experience was taken away from them, and some never came back, and not much got done during that time.
And there's two opportunities there for us as Lions and Lion leaders. One is the COVID, and we have no control over that. But the second is that a campus club may need a guiding lion for all of its life. It's not just a 2-year guiding lion, but it may need a guiding lion, someone who is a seasoned lion who can assist them with their reporting and their mentoring and help them in the middle of the road. So I appreciate what you said, because that's highlighted one of the things and one of the reasons that a lot of clubs need to rebuild is because the older lions, we've propped them up for 2 years and we exited stage right and we left them on their own and they just died on the vine. In your particular case, we may be exited stage right, but then COVID come in and what's the death nail to Campus Club. Sometimes we have all the leadership of a campus club that has graduated, and we've not done a very good job of bringing in younger students every year. And so as we begin to look at the issue of rebuilding a Lions Club, we need to ask ourselves, why are we back here revisiting this club? And then that lets us know what we need to do better this next time. I've got a club here in my district. There was a campus club. It survived about 3 years. They didn't do a very good job of bringing in younger members. And the guiding lions that we selected were too seasoned to relate to campus group. You know, once you get to be about 85, you probably don't need to be a guiding lion for a campus club. That's just my opinion for what it's worth. And so the first thing we have to ask is, why does the club need to be rebuilt so that we don't make the same mistakes again? And then as we continue, what are the benefits of joining a campus club? Because we've got to go out and sell this concept to a younger generation who may have different values than we have. What do y'all believe is the benefit to students to join a campus Lions Club?
I hate to be the monopoly here, but part of my spiel every semester when we start a new semester with new members is I talk to them, and at one point in time I will tell them um, basically that you are now part of an international organization, not a student organization, a permanent organization. It's something that you can become part of for the rest of your life, and it is also an internationally recognized organization. Your experience as being a leader or a member of a Lions Club reflects very well on you, and put that in your resume. And we have had many of our Lions do exactly that. They go out to get jobs and things of that nature. And so you sell it a little bit on that. Not only is this, you're doing good for your community, but you're doing good for yourself in the long run. So it doesn't hurt to hit them on both fronts as far as that.
Very good. What are some of the other benefits?
Good afternoon, Lion Michelle. I was going to say grants. When it's good on their resume and it helps them to get scholarships, any type of corporate funds, any type of grant money.
Thank you, Lion Michelle. That is so true. What other benefits do you see? Terry has raised her hand. There you
One
go.
of the things, it's part of the resume building is that you're giving them experience with leadership and marketing and working with others. That's how we had the conversation we had with University of Michigan this week, was all the different aspects of a professional career and the process of rebuilding that club.
That building a resume is so important. And as these campus students are working within their major, whether that's marketing, communications, management, we can give them some hands-on experience, but also we can help them to build their portfolio to show to future employers. Here's the service project that I was the chair of. I worked with the committee of 5. This is our plan. This was our plan of action, and this was the results. And they put that in their resume and in their portfolio to share with the employers. You've also got the Learn Center. The Lions Learn Center is second to none, and Lions can go there and take courses in meeting management, conflict resolution, Robert's Rules of Order, and all those things, and add it into their resume so that they have taken this course with Lions Clubs International. I've got one young man at the University of North Alabama who helped us to put together some promotional videos, and he was a marketing major and a communication major, and he actually put those 1.5-minute videos in his portfolio. So when he goes to interview for a job, he sends those and says, here is the video that I produced for the world's largest service organization. He almost always has been offered a job when he does that, and he has been able to move up the corporate ladder because people appreciate and can see the quality of work. And those are some of the selling points. Any other ideas or comments? Daniel, you may have been on a campus club and have some additional benefits that we need to share.
Sure. One of the things a lot of the youth that I work with are actually very interested in is connecting to that global network. It is not just the personal and professional development, it's that they can actually connect to people all around the world. And if they travel, they will then be connected. So highlighting the fact that by becoming a Lion, you're becoming a global citizen, that you are joining an international association, and then making sure to encourage them to develop those connections with the young Lions in various parts of the world. I do think that that's a big selling point, especially to kids that may not have had the opportunity to travel yet. and would be looking to maybe go backpacking in Europe on a summer, and then they could connect to local Lions clubs. Just showing them that we are much larger than the local club, and what they see right there, I think, is always a very useful thing.
You know,
Absolutely.
Daniel, in that regard, I can tell you that that social capital of worldwide connection is huge. It was a different service club, but maybe one start with an R word. But that young lady, I've had 9 of them now, and one young lady I'm thinking of is ambassador out of Finland to Russia. So
It makes a tremendous difference. And so as we begin to talk about rebuilding, we don't want to make the same mistakes over and over. So we're going to identify the errors of our way in the past. We're going to put together an elevator speech that is going to relate to a younger crowd. And then we have to ask ourselves, how visible is this current club, this current campus club? If it's pretty visible, then we're going to build on their visibility and use that as one of our strengths. If they have not been visible, what can we do to help them to become more visible? And there may just be 10, 12, 15 students that in the core group that we're trying to rebuild. But if we can go in with them, with a club that's maybe not as visible as they should have been, and immediately begin to hold some service projects, add value to the campus, and bring that visibility up, then people will want to join. So that's one thing we need to ask ourselves. But if they're already pretty visible, then those 10 or 12 are in a position to invite their friends, their family, their neighbors to join the club. The other thing that we need to do is ask ourselves, how are college students communicating? Because although most of us, are using Facebook to communicate, I think some of our college students have moved on to TikTok and Snapchat and other venues to communicate. And we've got to communicate and be where they are if we're going to share information about when we're going to meet, how we're going to meet, what we're doing, and things of that nature. So how do you find that the campus students in your area are communicating? What social media or communication tool are they using?
PID Jerome. This is Deb Mosier. In our area, we everyone text messages. You can call them, you can send them an email, you can leave messages, but what they respond to is a text message. It's amazing. They'll have a conversation, many people, for an hour through text messaging. So that is their thing around here anyway.
My mother, when she was about 75 one day, I got a text on my phone, and I called her. I said, "Mother, someone has hacked your phone." And she says, "Why?" I said, "Because I got a text message." She says, "My grandchildren won't answer the phone and talk to me anymore. I had to learn to text."
Yeah.
It's about 3 months later, I got a Facebook friend request from her, and I told her again, somebody is stealing your identity. And she says, "No, I don't get to see pictures of my grandchildren unless I get on Facebook. I've had to learn to do this." And so we've got to learn to where they're communicating, and text messaging is one of them. There's a Telegram as another group chat, and WhatsApp seems to be another group chat that certain segments communicate with, as well as Facebook. But as we're beginning to put together our rebuilding, and I think that Lion Dave shared with each of you the outline of the steps that we use in building clubs and campus clubs here in 34A. There's no magic to it. It's just some of the things that we tried to consider. Lion Michelle, Turner White.
Yes. The other thing I was going to say is when they do respond to texts, and what I've learned working with some of the younger generation is that they don't want to be in meetings with seasoned people too often and too long. And if you give them a task to do, or if they've agreed rather to participate in a particular meeting, and we have to accept the way or get accustomed to their different types of learning or being a part of serving methods that they want to be a part of serving, but not in the same way that we might be accustomed to. They don't care about they might come to a dinner. They want you to text them, be specific. Even if you're sending an email, say, I'm texting you this email, just to let them know it's there. What's your ETA for, when this might get, if say one is adding pictures, uploading pictures to your website. They'll respond, like she said, to the text and be specific. If it's an email, let them know it's coming, and they'll let you know when they'll get it done. And you might have to remind them via text. They aren't looking at the emails that often. If there's a meeting or something you want them to attend, you remind them via text.
I was just going to say that, Michelle. I have somebody that's just like that. He's a great person, but if you send him an email, you have to send a text message to tell him you sent him an email.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's a new, new type of server that with the young people.
And I think that Judy Young had her hand raised.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know the use of the private Facebook groups like we have for the Global Lions Forum. I've had younger people tell me, oh, if you would form something like that, if I miss a meeting, then I could get into the discussion on activities and stuff that we're doing. So we've got to think like they think, and they don't think like us as far as they want to give, they want to share, and they just do it differently than we did.
Absolutely. And once the group that is still there is ready to expand and help us to rebuild the club, they'll let us know how that they communicate. And then we help them to shape their messaging and talk about the benefits so we can sell the sizzle.
Mhm.
And things will continue to improve. How can we, hang on just a second, because I got pictures. How can we involve all the Lions in our district in this effort? That's the other key thing, is that these campus clubs need everyone in our district to rally around them. What can the Lions, even from the club that is furthest away in your district, do to support your campus club?
Lions Jerome, I'm
Yes.
wondering how many Lions clubs in our 3-state area even have somebody in their district assigned, maybe it's membership, to actually contact campuses. I'm talking about both public and non-public and community colleges, because in Ohio, it's not happening.
Okay. Anyone else have someone dedicated to building campus clubs in Indiana or in Michigan?
What did he say about community colleges? I'm an executive in a community college, but I didn't hear the question.
He says, is there a Lion that has a responsibility of reaching out to colleges and community colleges and starting clubs on campuses?
Well, it would be the same as when I'm sure at the universities, let me just say, to come to the college, you can't just come in and recruit people. You have to get permission if you're going on to the actual property.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't necessarily outdoor areas to meet people, but even with that, you can't just approach them. So what do you do? I don't know.
I think the question.
Events, table events. We've done events at our college and had tables that were Lions Club specific, maybe a community event, and registration table, and people have signed up to become members in that fashion or to participate in activities.
And I think the question was, do we have a lion in every district who is charged with the responsibility of starting campus clubs and reaching out to universities and finding out what their guidelines are and opening doors for us to do that? And I don't think that we do, but it's a great idea
Yes, it is.
for us to maybe add that as a cabinet level position, somebody that is charged with that responsibility. Well,
I'm
we have.
pretty sure we don't in Indiana.
How about Michigan? Does Michigan have any campus liaisons? Terry says yes.
As far as I know, there are no assigned positions like that. Our current council chair, Dave Hill, has been very active in trying to recruit and start campus clubs. And so I guess you could say, in a way, he's a self-appointed person to do that.
Mhm.
But because I've talked with anybody and everybody in Michigan about campus clubs, we don't have any one person saying, I'm there to start a new club. In our own particular district, we have talked about that several times in many different directions and analyzed who we should be going after next, if you want to call it that. But one individual, no. Nobody's got that title of campus recruiter or campus organizer, whatever you might call it.
Yeah, on a multiple district level, I don't think any of the states have a person appointed. And I think that outlines, along with what Michelle was just saying, is that we have a lack of, how should I say, focus on getting campus clubs, and then the access is often found quite difficult. Dave Hill and I were talking about this just the other day. Their campus club is on life support right now, and one of the hurdles, obviously, is they got separated, and it's getting people back in, but then access on the campus to get people back in. He's found that very difficult. And then when you get that opportunity, you can't waste it. You got to really go after it.
It's got to be organized.
Now, Lion Terry has her hand raised, and then we have a comment in the chat that we're going to address.
I was going to speak to how you involve all the Lions in the district.
Okay, please.
And part of that for me was to have the different clubs throughout the district invite the students to their service projects when they're out in the community, or if they have something special going on, or to the district projects, invite them to be involved in those.
That's a very good idea. Very good idea. And I'm sorry, I've closed the chat box, but one of the Lions here, and if you'll identify yourself, I think it was Lion Dawson, said that they never had enough to charter a campus club, so they become a club branch, the students of the campus. And so that's another way to bring them in closer and mentor them and help them as they continue to serve on that campus. Now, the other thing that we do sometimes is when we get ready to go onto a campus, we send out an email to every Lion in the district that says, we're going over here to the University of XYZ. If you know anyone in your town that is a student there, please ask them to fill out this interest form, and we will put them on our mail list. And from that, we usually get across the district 8 to 10 students that fill out an interest form. And we know then that that's our core group as we're starting to rebuild or starting to a new club. The other thing that we do is we ask the clubs if they would take and host some of these students at their meetings when they come home for holidays, or if they're an offshore student, maybe from Europe or South America that doesn't have a place to go, ask them to adopt some of these lions so that they have a family to be with during the holidays and things of that nature. So there's a lot of different things that can be done. We just have to be creative in getting it done. It says all lions, when waving goodbye to a Leo who goes off to college, should find the nearest campus club. That's true.
Mhm.
And then the last question is rebuilding a campus club similar to starting one? What do you think? Is it basically the same steps to rebuild this campus club, these that are going to come back together after COVID, as it was starting it originally?
Jerome,
Sir.
I think you hit the key answer to that earlier when you talked about being recognized by the college or university as a student organization. Without that key factor, basically nothing really happens on campus. So a club that is there but struggling, but if they're still a student organization, they are at least one giant leap ahead of starting a brand new club. Because if they're recognized, then they've got the rights and privileges of any student organization to use the campus facilities and any of those many different possibilities. So existing clubs have one big advantage, and hopefully people are going to take advantage of that advantage.
Very good. Have these questions helped any of us to focus on some of the things that we need to consider as we're beginning to rebuild a campus club?
One of the questions I have is, in my experience working with Ohio clubs, many of our Lions members are, I would think, I'm just going to say this bluntly, prejudiced against campus people. They don't really want to go inside a campus and meet a dean or something like that.
Yep.
They fear the unknown. I don't know really why that is, because they have grandchildren certainly that are college students. But it seems like we need a get prepared conversation before they start knocking on doors.
And that's a very good comment and observation. And also then most districts have some retired educators. They may not have been on a university level, but either in a high school, who feel comfortable reaching out and talking in the academic community. And so once again, as we have a task, a job to be done, if we find that lion that has some talent, a passion, and it fulfills their purpose, then we could really match that responsibility to the lion that is capable of doing that and find new levels of success, I believe.
You know, one thing that, I'm not muted. One thing that's been kind of going through my mind, who in the group here has had success or is right now currently successful with campus clubs? I know Steve Van Tol, you've worked at a campus club at SVSU. I know Ray, you have. I know Dave Hill has. Who besides that has been successful with campus club building?
Yeah, Dave, this is Steve. Ours is a rebuild every year. I put in the chat. I mean, it's a struggle the whole way through. Saginaw Valley is a smaller college, and it's not that small, but it's just students, when they hit campus, they have so many different opportunities. We went to orientation where they had probably 60 campus organizations a student could join, and which one do they pick and try to fit in with their studies and get everything else done. So it's a struggle all the time, but we keep moving forward, and we don't give up on it.
Daniel Elkins has his hand raised. He said, success.
Sure, and I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts on this conversation. Since the pandemic started, I have helped rebuild one and found two campus clubs. And a lot of the points that you guys are saying are so true. What you just said about it being a rebuild every year, it's absolutely, you need to do that. So what we've started to look at as we are attempting to do the rebuild is actually to build into the structure of the club itself a way in their constitution and bylaws to say that every single year they will put a freshman on their board of directors, that they will move in right at the very start. That so it is part of that actual outgoing class's role to put someone into a leadership position. In Dell State University, we had a dynamic club, and I'm sure this sounds very similar. We had a club that was successful for a couple of years. The leaders who were dynamic, they graduated, they didn't replace themselves before they left, and then it became the Lions who were constantly struggling to try and replace those members. So in the rebuild, we've done two things there. One, put that in as a part of the policy. So from day one, they are looking for that freshman. And in many ways, you're taking it almost like a fraternal or a sorority approach, where they're looking for a pledge class. They're looking for those people to come in and replace. Two, if there's any at all way you can get a faculty involved, that's the real key to get access. So in the University of Charleston in West Virginia, we were able to build that club during a pandemic because we had buy-in from a faculty member who was a Lion. But there's another idea that we're starting to test out. And this goes back to how can we get Lions from around the district or involved. Check your rosters, email people, find out if there are any alumni who are Lions that went to that school. And it's an out of the box idea, but I've been suggesting that they create an associate membership for alumni on that campus club. Someone who's bought into that school, that has also bought into the concept of being a Lion. And an associate membership is you can't vote, you can't hold a position, you don't have to pay dues, but you can. So if you were to put together an alumni association of like the associate members of Lions who are alumni from that school, maybe even the campus club members as they graduate and go on to other things and careers and leave that school, have the opportunity for like $20 a year, they pay their associate dues. A, that's putting in administrative funds back into that college campus club, which can help in that way. And B, it keeps them connected. And that's one of those pitch things that sororities and fraternities most certainly have, is that you have this interconnected network of people who have been a part of this organization that are now off other places in life. So if we can create that feel with a campus club to say you are always connected to that university and to that club, that will go a long way, I think, towards the need to continually rebuild. The toughest thing that, as you all have highlighted, is the fact that realistically, an 18 to 21-year-old doesn't want to hang out with people their parents' age, let alone their grandparents' age. Let's be honest. I work with youth who are like, Mr. Daniel, we love you. We're appreciative of everything you do. We would much rather have our own meetings. We would much rather be doing our own thing. So it is so hard to break that. Find the youngest person that you got and connect it to them. One of the other ways that we are suggesting in this new club that we are working on right now at Howard University is to actually have the campus club sponsor a Leo club. And that idea of youth working with youth, I think, identify the high schools that are feeder schools into that college, and then see if you can get the campus club to establish a Leo club out there. That might be a way to have a constant people going into that local university. So I didn't want to take up too much of your time. There's so many great ideas that you guys are already working on, but I did want to just share those few points.
Oh, that's good practical information, Daniel. Ray, you had your hand up.
Yeah, when somebody was talking a few minutes ago, when they said something about getting involved and being like a fraternity and things like that, it made me think of something that I had thought about before, but it wasn't anything I was bringing up here. The MSU Campus Club, one of the reasons that I think they were so successful is they not only had, let's do a service project, you've got to do so many of this and that and everything like that. One of their own internal positions on what they called their e-board was basically a social director, somebody that was strictly responsible for having the club have fun, doing activities and things of that nature. And she organized bowling parties, hay rides, other activities of that nature. Had during the wintertime apparently a few parties at her apartment, and I don't know because I was never invited to them how well they went over. Not surprising. But anyway, the social part of it kept a lot of people interested, or they became something like, I'm building a network of friends. So that is an important part for campus clubs that I hadn't even thought about it because we're talking about all these other heavy issues. And this one was, hey, let's go out with all of our Lions friends and have pizza tonight and talk and laugh and whatever the case would be. And it kept people together, and that was just a part of what was a successful club.
Great, thanks. I think that goes for any club, really, any age as well.
I think Michelle Turner White had her hand up as well. And Michelle, you're muted.
Hold on. Hi.
Yep.
Yes.
And you had a question? You had your hand up?
Michelle? No, I didn't have my hand up.
Okay. All right.
Okay, sorry.
Someone asked in the chat box, should we consider cyber campus clubs? And of course, that's also an opportunity for us as well, because a lot of them do want to meet virtually and not necessarily meet in person.
I don't know. I have some mixed emotions whether I think that would work. I think kids that age are very social, and they are. I guess it depends on how their university is structured.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the last year, that's what the MSU Campus Club was. It was a cyber club because they weren't on campus. I mean, the kids were spread out from one end of Detroit to the far end of the Upper Peninsula. And that's how they accomplished what they did last year of continuing to be that. So they can accomplish it, but yeah, they would, I'm sure, like to have a Friday night party every once in a while and things of that nature. But it's not impossible, at least under the conditions that they were put in, to be a cyber club.
Lion Rebecca, I think you've got your hand up.
Yes, I'm adjunct at my local adjunct faculty at my local community college. So I'm on campus about 3 days a week usually. As far as the cyber club goes, oh, just a moment. I have a oh, there we go. Yeah, at our school, especially over the past couple of years, a lot of the social activities do occur through the cyber clubs. Gaming's very popular. That's one that for that they do have sports teams that are cyber teams. That there is a lot of meeting that's done, a lot of socializing that's done through the computer, through various different platforms. So that the idea of a cyber component to a club is probably essential. The only trouble that I'm having is getting Lions to really buy into the idea that they would like to visit with the students and talk to them and try to get to know them and find out, what it is that they wanted, what Lions do and how the students can get involved. So I'm hearing some really, really good ideas here. So I really appreciate the information.
Well, we have had a very, the time has flown. I mean, it's 47 minutes after now, and we started right on time, but there are some good ideas. And then Daniel Elkins has said too, that some of your administrative work and organizational efforts of service projects thing can be handled on an app like Slack. And I'm not familiar with Slack, but I'm assuming it's a communication tool. And then the meetings themselves can be more social, the pizza, and whether we want to admit it or not, the pizza and the beer, and having just some social time. What other questions or comments do we have about rebuilding a campus club? If you don't have to raise your hand, just unmute and chat with us, because I can't keep track of who's got their hands raised.
PID Jerome, do you think that if you're contemplating trying to start a new campus club or approach a college, is there any rhyme or reason to whether it's better to try a 4-year college than a 2-year college, because perhaps the turnover isn't as quick, or not really?
In a 2-year college, you're going to have that turnover quite rapidly, because a lot of the people that go even to the 2-year college, those students find out that it is or isn't for them in a hurry, and then they're gone.
Right.
The 4-year college, still your freshmen find out if it's for them or not for them pretty early, but those that stick, you've got 3 years with them.
Right.
What I've liked to do, and we've got some clubs here that do this for the community colleges, is they bring in all of the students that are from like Lawrence County, my county, that are going to Calhoun. We can invite them to join our club for half dues, and then put them on the leadership committee and give them some opportunities to build their resumes. And whether they go to college or don't go to college, they're still part of our club. So if they go, they test it, they say, no, this isn't for me, I'm going over here and get a job. They're already tied in with us and have remained well. Now, there are some students, and I had one that transferred out the other day. He went on to a 4-year college, and there was a club there that he wanted to be a member of, so he transferred from our club to there. But as soon as he finishes 4-year degree, if he comes back home, he'll be back with our club. And so I think that maybe we would be better off with a 2-year college is to take those students and bring them in and either make them a branch of our club or put them in our club and have a young student Lions committee, and let them have their own little projects and leadership opportunities. But now that's my opinion. What do y'all think?
Just on mute. And
as you were talking, one thing that I was thinking of when we were talking about the short life of the 2-year college is how quickly, and because Richard just made a point about how most of those 2-year students are from the local area. So you can transition them into a local club. And that's a very valuable point.
Lion Terry, we did have one club that I'm aware of, went to their 2-year college and talked to the president of the school, and they told the president of the school that they could accommodate 5 students who, if they would write an essay, they would give them free dues for the year. And in Alabama, that amounts to about $25 with international and state dues. No, I'm take that back. About $35 for state and international dues for a student. They agreed that they would sponsor 5 of those students, and they told the university, the community college, that they would help them to get their community service hours so they could keep their scholarships. They put them on committees. They made some chairmen, some vice chairmen. They give them some projects, and they helped them to build a resume. And when these 5 students, then the next year, one of their job was to bring in one new member that was younger than them. And of those 5, 3 of them went off to universities, and they got major scholarships because of the work they'd done with Lions Clubs. So we can be creative and think outside the box with 2-year students and really give them a hand up as they move into that university life and getting scholarships and applying for scholarships.
If I could say one more thing that's kind of out of the box, is that reaching out in between districts also. Ray Robbins has been very successful with the Michigan State University Club. And because we are rebuilding and really kind of struggling a bit with the U of M, asking him from another district to help with our building, you know, that's something that is thinking outside the box too, that Dave Hill has done.
Yeah.
And Terry, can I just springboard on that just a little bit? Number one, not only reach out to these people, but if you want or have an interest in starting a campus club, but maybe aren't really able to do it in your own district, or you haven't got the momentum or the right approach yet, working with these people to help build theirs is certainly a good thing. And we can cross state lines, by the way, folks. It's well, except with unless it involves red and white, but that's different. But we can cross state lines, and there's a lot of benefit to doing this, because you've got experience here amongst a few people, and that way we don't waste our efforts.
Right.
Okay. I'm just going to comment to Terry. Terry, this afternoon or this morning, when we had our other meeting this morning in Lansing, Dave Hill asked me if I would become an advisor, and that's what he called it, an advisor to your campus clubs to assist and participate and help out. So yeah, he's carrying forward with that idea, and whenever it happens, I'll be there.
You know, that collaboration among Lions is so important, because that's what has got us to where we are now with positive membership growth. We've all begun to talk, and I think the Global Action Team and folks like Area Leader Dave have just brought folks to the table and talked about common issues and working things out. Although there was a segment on starting campus clubs and the town and gown clubs, we're not going to get to that tonight. And I didn't think that we would. But if you have found this to be beneficial, tell Lion Dave, and we'll find another night and we'll cover the second and maybe the second, third, or maybe just the second phase of this discussion. But I think that what we've done tonight is we have really shared some ideas. I've learned a lot. I love the Leo idea. I love the alumni being associate members ideas. I love the different service projects y'all have talked about. And we've got one university here that has a huge nursing practitioner, doctorate in nursing, is a nursing practitioner. And the dean has approached the Lions Club about those students coming out and speaking concerning diabetes at all of our clubs. And so in turn, we're talking about forming a Lions Club on campus with our nursing students so they can educate about diabetes, empower people with diabetes to manage their condition, and then raise funds to eradicate. And so there's so many different partnerships that can be pulled together out there. But thank you so very much. Closing comments from anyone and everyone. I'm going to stop sharing the screen because we're not getting past the screen anyway. And y'all, you've got about 3 or 4 minutes for closing comments and questions.
Yeah, D. Jerome, I would just like to thank you for continuing the use of Zoom. I think it was one of the best things that came out of COVID, was forcing us all to do things like this. Obviously, you couldn't have gotten this group together in such a short time and in this manner without having to expend finances to do it. So cheers for continuing with Zoom when it makes sense to do it.
Thank you, District Governor Deb.
Jerome, I'll add something. Earlier, you said something about guiding lions for campus clubs, 2 years and they kind of disappeared. I think everybody should recognize that when somebody is trying to form a campus club, yes, it is a brand new club every year. That's because it's a brand new board every year. Doesn't mean that there aren't members that won't be there for many more years. If you're lucky, you get a freshman and they're there for 4 years, or you get a sophomore and they're there for 3 years. But it's still the major part of the board is brand new every year. So when you get a guiding lion, and I've been fortunate enough that I was there and I helped them to start, and I've told them, and we've already kind of worked it out, I am their guiding lion for life. They're not going to get rid of me until, I turn 85, whatever it is. And I think I've told Brent and Karen and a couple of other people the same exact story. And so it comes down to, when you recruit for a guiding lion for a club, tell them that this is going to be part of your lion's career. You may not be able to go off and do some other particular big project, because you are absolutely vital to keeping that club alive. The kids at that college, they had never heard the term before, but when I talked to them in a Zoom call that we had in June to the brand new board, I told them I am their institutional memory. And at first they didn't understand it, but then I said, do you want to know how this club got formed, and who were your officers then, and what it is projects you've tried before? These kids aren't there long enough to know all of that stuff. And now
Pocket history book.
yeah. So anyway,
Ray,
you need somebody that's willing to stick around. So that would be a key thing. Find a good guiding lion who's willing to help out. And
Permanent fixture.
as permanent as you can get.
Remember, in Lions, there's so many jobs and so many things to do. You don't have to do the same thing forever, but you do have to replace yourself if you want all the hard work that you put in. If you want that to mean something and carry on and really have the true benefit to everyone, we've got to learn to replace ourselves. There's nothing wrong with moving on to something else, but there is a responsibility, or let's put it this way, there's a best practice. We need to be able to replace ourselves, put the other person in there. I think we've learned one thing about Lions clubs that are on campuses tonight is that they take a lot of work, and it's a continuous amount of work. And everybody knows what it's like to be a lion in a job that you can never get out of. All right. And we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to set the right example and allow others in as well, and encourage them and be positive with them. So.
Absolutely. Let me thank Richard Stevenson, who has been very active in the chat box with some great ideas. Thank you very much for joining us from Arizona, correct? And
Yep.
Daniel, thank you very much for joining us from Delaware with your expertise. These two Lions are outstanding and have really added value to our meeting this evening. Lion Dave, thank you for your leadership in bringing this group together, and thank everyone who attended. We'll get together and talk some more if you'd like. Just let Dave know. Until then, go out there and just ask someone to join our association and continue to put smiles on the faces of those in need. Thank you for everything that you're doing and you continue to do. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.